Hello, everyone, and welcome back. The afternoon of day 2 of the Marketing Profs B2B Forum online. We are really excited to have you all here. I am Matt Snodgrass. I'm your moderator for this session, and I want to congratulate each and every one of you for picking one of the most exciting sessions to be in because Rachel and I are here, and this is going to be awesome. So let's get smarter. Before we do that, though, I would like to thank our gold sponsor, Mountain, who is presenting this session. We really appreciate their support for the B2B Forum online. We could not do this without the help and the assistance of our sponsors. In addition to this presentation, they've got all kinds of great material in the booth to check out in the Resource Center. So stop by and say hello. You can talk to my friend Dan Tarek, who's working in the booth, which I just found out he was working. We went to college together, so marketing is a very small world. So say hi to Dan. Tell him I sent you. All right, let's meet our presenter, and we'll dive right into the session. Please welcome Rachel Siegel, who is presenting Moving B2B Marketing to the Big Screen, presented by, of course, Mountain. Rachel is the Senior Director of Platform Experience at Mountain, where she and her team provide the resources that advertisers need to get the most out of performance TV. She plays a pivotal role in crafting platform strategies and best practices that have helped Mountain advertisers generate billions, with a B, billions of dollars in revenue. Through ongoing education initiatives and support, she and her team strive to provide brands the confidence they need to launch successful, performance-driven television campaigns. Rachel, thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
This is going to be awesome. I'm excited to learn about performance TV because I know very little about this, so I'm really excited to dig in here.
Yeah, we're excited to share.
All right. Well, with that, let's get started. Remember, folks, you can ask questions as we go along. Hit them up, put them in the Q&A. If you want to chat with Rachel or myself, you can do that in the chat tab. And let's roll today's session.
So again, I'm Rachel, and I'm excited to be here today and chat through some new B2B opportunities. So the main key takeaway that we want you all to remember today is that connected TV is a B2B marketer's new and engaging channel. Its advantages over traditional TV are what make an effective tool for B2B marketers by unlocking TV as a performance channel that you can rely on, just like paid search, social, and email. So here's what we'll be covering today to help illustrate this major opportunity for B2B brands. So we'll go over marketing trends and other reasons why you need to be on CTV, the tools and technology that unlocked B2B's TV ad opportunity, how to put your email list to work by targeting those users on CTV, other data-driven targeting strategies to get you in front of your audience, and then lastly, tips and best practices to help tie it all together. So as most of you are probably aware, TV has never really been a friendly space for B2B advertisers and primarily a B2C channel. So that's because its ability to target audiences and track performance just really hasn't been there. So B2C brands can cast it a bit wider when it comes to a targeting approach, since their audiences tend to be larger. But when it comes to B2B brands, they can't exactly get away with the same approach because of the specificity of their customer base. So they need granular targeting to reach the right retailers and businesses, as they most likely have a smaller total addressable market. And as part of that, they rely on measurement to gauge success, since B2B marketing teams tend to focus on efficiencies and returns. But the good news here for B2B marketers is CTV will now give you exactly what you need and more. So you now have CTV as a digital ad channel with a TV commercial as an ad unit. You can narrow your targeting to audiences that matter, reach those users with this highly engaging ad unit, and more importantly, you can measure the impact. So being able to target, reach, and measure are three valuable and impactful tools for B2B advertisers. So now let's look at some trends that show why CTV is the right move for B2B. So as you can see, CTV ad spend is increasing at an extremely rapid rate. eMarketer estimates that CTV ad spend will top $11 billion in 2021 alone, resulting in about a 40% increase compared to 2020, which is huge. But not only that, there are over 213 million CTV viewers in the US. So imagine the additional reach through this new channel. And yes, maybe some of you are still thinking or under the assumption that streaming TV is still just subscription-based or an ad-free experience, but ad-supported CTV is on the rise. So every major streaming service that has launched in the last few years has an ad-supported tier. And about 80% of CTV viewers watch ad-supported content, and that percentage is just likely to increase over time. So some B2B marketers have been slower than others to embrace this new channel, but we have seen that start to shift. So as you see from these current stats, you don't want to sit back on this new opportunity to effectively reach more users through an ever-growing channel. We've had a few events and webinars that focus on B2B on connected TV, and the attendance has exceeded both ours and our publishing partners' expectations. So that really just goes to show your competition is definitely taking notice in this new TV approach. So what has sparked this B2B pivot to CTV? It's what we just briefly touched on. CTV's targeting and measurement has made this channel more compelling and useful for B2B marketers. So you can now leverage either first or third-party data sources for CTV audience targeting. So for first-party targeting strategies, you can leverage your CRM lists or users who have already visited your website. Or for third-party targeting strategies, you can leverage sources like Oracle Data Cloud, which is actually fully integrated into Performance TV, which is our CTV ad platform. But you're not limited to Oracle when looking for a CTV solution that best suits your needs. But we highly recommend you make sure you have the right audience strategy in play to drive performance, because we really do believe an audience-first approach sets the stage for your campaign's performance. And then lastly, and most importantly, you can track the performance outcomes of your campaigns using cross-device attribution. So cross-device attribution tells you when a user sees an ad and the actions they take afterward, including a website visit to a subsequent conversion, and even what device that occurred on. So really ensuring that we're able to track and measure all events throughout users' cross-device journey. So with all that being said, this effectively puts CTV alongside the familiar channels you tend to rely on, such as paid search, social, and email. And essentially, you can now take those strategies you're currently running on those channels and elevate them by bringing them to TV, which is a pretty big deal because, like we said before, TV ads are the most engaging ad type available on the market today, as your ad displays on those large screen TVs. So as I just mentioned, we now have the ability to target those valuable CRM lists on television without having to deal with the inherent drawbacks of email marketing. Email has a lot of hurdles marketers currently face. You're competing with other B2B marketers in the space. Emails are landing in crowded inboxes or just going straight to spam folders. And not to mention, open rates are becoming less of a reliable metric, and they don't tend to lead to an actual action by the user in terms of either clicking through or actually visiting the website. People will open emails without reading them, guilty, mark them as read, and then just move on. And to really highlight this impact, as you all know, one of the topics in the industry has been around iOS 14 and 15 updates. I was recently listening to an email marketing podcast, and it was centered around email marketing and then the actual impact with iOS 15. And this update will impact the ability to see open rate, since it's tracked by a one-by-one that sits in the email and fires on the device the email is opened on, which I'm sure most of you know. But with the iOS update, this function will be blocked and emails will show as being automatically opened or not opened at all. So it'll be impossible to know whether people using Apple Mail app have opened emails. They also went on to discuss how open rate reporting was never truly reliable anyway, and that most Android mail apps already block the ability for email marketing platforms to track open rates. So open rates are just pretty unreliable as it is. But now we can now effectively expand your email marketing strategy to the large screen TV and do away with some of those email hurdles we just discussed. So as a B2B company, you have already done most of the heavy lifting here with your extensive customer databases. So we can now take those email lists, and we work with Oracle OnRamp, going through an identification process to match all households tied to those emails and leverage those households to target those valuable users. So this is the first time we can leverage this type of audience strategy on television. And we're excited to see the success this can drive for B2B brands by taking those emails and bringing them to the big screen. So you can also leverage your existing site traffic by launching retargeting campaigns on connected TV. So you can build out various retargeting audience strategies based on your users' actions on your website. So for instance, target users based on the number of pages they visited, time spent on the site, or just on certain pages, and any other action that indicates high intent users for your specific website. This is also a great targeting approach for any ABM strategies you may be leveraging. So when those valuable prospects visit your site, you then hit them with your best looking and most engaging ad unit right on their large screen. So as I mentioned, our partnership with Oracle for CRM email matching, as well as third-party interest segments, they play a key role in helping B2B advertisers reach new audiences. So third-party audiences leverage our integration with Oracle Data Cloud, where we actually receive one of the largest pools of audiences in the US for targeting streaming TV, which allows you to create a unique audience combination that can ultimately scale. And with Oracle's US-based audience graph being extremely strong, it helps you sidestep all the issues related to cookies or mobile IDs because it doesn't rely on those, and not to mention the industry is moving away from that type of tracking anyway. But we rely on households, which eliminates any impact to targeting. And while you can leverage other data sources, Oracle's audience selection is just truly unmatched. And B2B marketers have plenty of audiences to tap into that contain a wide range of B2B criteria, such as job titles, the industries they work in, trade show attendance, and more. So you can really drill down into the specific interests you're looking to target based on the people you're trying to reach. And you know your customer profile best and have spent time building out your ideal customer profiles. And you have the flexibility to select as many relevant segments in order to reach those users that are similar to your customer base. So whether you leverage first or third-party data sources, CTV is the perfect solution to enable because you can be so specific in targeting and still have the ability to scale. So now that I've explained CTV's audience targeting capabilities, I want to warn you against a potential mistake a lot of new CTV advertisers make when first experimenting with this new channel. So earlier I discussed how traditional TV wasn't a very good fit for B2B brands. And a common misstep new advertisers make is that they still think of CTV like traditional TV. So what I mean by that is they try to approach the ad buying process like you would when buying regular TV advertising. So they'll say, we know our audience well, or we know they'll likely watch this type of programming. And so they'll try to buy inventory on a specific streaming service because they think they'll be able to reach their audience there. But that approach basically throws out all the benefits of CTV advertising because what's amazing about it is that you don't need to park your ads on a specific network. Instead, you can take an audience-first approach, which would use all that targeting criteria that we discussed before and apply it to your audience, regardless of what ad-supported CTV content they're watching. So that's pretty important because the average American consumer has over 4 streaming services they regularly tune into. So you want to be sure you can reach them as they bounce from service to service. And this programmatic audience-first approach ensures you're reaching your audience while they're streaming instead of when they're streaming a specific network or program. This really gives your CTV campaign more opportunities to reach the right viewers and helps you to deliver your message and drive the outcomes you're looking to generate, That's why we built performance TV to function exactly like this, because it helps generate better campaign performance for our advertisers. And I know some of you out there may be a bit worried about not having total control over where your ads show up, and we're very aware of those type of concerns. That's why we curate a list of over 100 top tier streaming networks and apps, which we'll serve ads to ensure brand safety is still maintained and the advertisers' ads are shown only alongside top quality programming. So when you're looking for a CTV ad solution, just be sure to ask the tactics they use to ensure brand safety. So making sure your ads are serving on top tier networks and to eligible users. So getting back to targeting, the efficiency introduced by these audience capabilities is a major reason why CTV is an effective performance channel, and the wide variety of targeting strategies really unlock the entire sales funnel. So for example, you can leverage those third-party audiences to reach new prospects, raise awareness of your brand, and drive new traffic to your site. If the first ad your prospect sees on TV, if the first ad your prospect does see is on TV, that's an amazing first impression, because TV advertising helps elevate brand credibility. And there's still this idea that only the biggest brands can advertise on TV, but that's really just not the case. Large or small, there's an opportunity for all brands to tap into CTV. And then similarly, retargeting campaigns that target your site visitors can keep your prospects engaged with high value touch points and drive them further down the funnel toward conversion. And of course, using CRM email lists gives you the flexibility to nurture leads and continue to keep your brand top of mind. Ultimately, you can plug CTV into practically any stage of the sales funnel. And even more importantly, you can measure its impact every step of the way with its measurement capabilities. So I know we've talked a lot about targeting, and with CTV, we really do recommend taking that audience first approach. But to really get the most out of CTV advertising, you need to be able to measure the impact. So cross-device is naturally a key component for CTV advertising, especially since a user can't convert on their TV or even click on their TV. So that's why we've built technology that we call cross-device verified visits. So this tells you when a user sees your ad, visits your website within a predefined window set by you, and then the subsequent conversion tied to that actual website visit. And the beauty of this model is you have the flexibility to adjust your attribution window to align with your current sales cycle. And just like the rest of your performance marketing channels, cross-device verified visits is fully integrated with Google Analytics. So you can now measure performance alongside the rest of your campaigns, giving you that holistic view of how your marketing strategy is playing out. So before we jump into the Q&A portion, I just wanted to share some best practices that we have learned and implemented while helping advertisers run effective CTV campaigns. So first, impressions matter, but only to a certain extent. CTV's real advantage is being able to drive performance and see the outcomes of your campaign results. So as we talked about that audience first approach, we're less concerned with serving a bunch of impressions and more focused on serving impressions to the right users, even if that means we don't serve as many. So as long as we reach that right user, they're more likely to convert. We also tell advertisers to focus on metrics that matter to them and ultimately drive those outcomes that we've been talking about, such as visits and conversions, focusing on those true events and actions to analyze their results. Next, we don't want to limit ourselves and make the mistake of thinking our audience is watching certain programming. Everyone has a wide range of tastes, and you would be surprised how many B2B prospects can be watching the Animal Planet or gardening networks. And as a real life example, my dad thoroughly enjoys HGTV and watching reality TV with me. So you never truly know what networks your users are engaging with. But again, by not making these assumptions of what your users are watching, it gives you the ability to reach as many users as you can within that household. Because remember, you don't know who's sitting in front of that TV watching that program. So you don't want to lose out on an opportunity to reach those users and potentially a conversion. We also recommend not limiting yourself when it comes to your marketing mix and examining where along the sales funnel you need to boost performance, because I can guarantee CTV can be a big contributor in seeing stronger results. And then lastly, just take advantage of CTV's capabilities and integrate it into your email-driven strategies. Avoid those hurdles with emails we discussed earlier. It is a much better way to cut through the clutter and actually reach those valuable users.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much. Let's get into some questions here. Are you ready? Are you on mic? Let's test that first.
I think I'm on mic.
All right, we can. Great. Well, thanks so much for a great presentation. Cheryl is wondering, and this is a question that I actually had when I popped into your booth earlier to talk to Dan about. So this is great. What kind of costs are involved here? Can small companies with limited advertising budgets afford it? And what can we expect this? Because as I think about traditional television advertising, like if you can't put millions of dollars towards something, you can't make it work. Is the same thing applicable to CTV, or what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so I mean, not necessarily. It's really dependent on like the objective that you're looking to target. So our minimums can really vary, but we can go as low as $10,000 to run a CTV spot for you, and you have access to every part of our platform. So you can leverage the Oracle audiences, your CRM list, launch your campaigns, have reporting. So it's a really all-encompassing platform. But it would be great to have like an individual conversation to really figure out like what are your goals like as a business, and we can kind of talk through what could be some of those strategies.
But so it is feasible for us with smaller budgets to be able to move the needle and make something happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, absolutely, great. I think about it. You drew parallels between pay-per-click advertising before, and to me, this is all still very new to me. This is my first real dive into this, but it feels like this needs to get to a point, or could get to a point, where this is just another channel for us, right? I mean, this is just another. We're paying for LinkedIn ads and Google ads and Facebook ads. This feels like an extension of that.
Yeah, no, it definitely is an extension of that. And it kind of brings a lot of those initiatives like to a larger screen versus staying on like that smaller screen. In order to get a user to engage a little bit more, they're more likely to remember your ad on that larger screen and then bring that home onto those smaller devices, then drive them back to your site to convert.
How do we start if we want to start testing this? If we want to see, hey, let's say we do have a $10,000 budget and we want to see what that gets us. How do we do that? Like if I don't have a TV commercial to do it with, is there a way that I can sort of test the waters here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have existing video assets like from social, for instance, you can leverage those. And if not, we actually have a newer partnership with QuickFrame, who can actually assist in producing TV ads. So we're happy to, draw that connection.
Excellent. So again, thinking of sort of this first test campaign that we're getting ready, is there a specific audience targeting strategy we should be going after? What do you recommend for sort of a first trial at this?
Yeah, so I really think it depends on your overall goal as a business and what you're trying to accomplish. So whether you're looking to target site visitors, going after new users, or leveraging like your CRM audience, for instance, it's really dependent on that. But I mean, if we take CRM, for instance, and for B2B marketers, at the end of the day, it comes down to those valuable lists you've been building over time. And depends on that group of users you're trying to reach. So whether you have an initiative for retention audiences, renewals, purchasers, or loyalty shoppers, you just want to make sure those lists are up to date, contain your most valuable users in those example categories. And then pairing that audience with relevant video assets really sets you up to really drive those performance results.
Is this more of a branding play, or do you see real conversions from this happening as well? That's in my mind. This feels like, oh, this would be great for letting people know about my brand and for brand reinforcement. But I'm curious as to how can we see real actions taken from this?
Yeah, so I think it depends, a lot on what that objective is and the audience strategy you're looking to target, and again, that overall business goal you're looking to achieve. But it could be both. But yes, we do see that the more valuable that engaged audience is that we're targeting, the more conversions we are able to drive. So it really comes down to that overall strategy that we'll discuss that works in line with your business objectives.
Very good. All right, let me just move on, clear this one out. Okay, so What about like what do we have to do to actually start tracking this, right? What kind of back end work do we have to do on our website or landing pages, or however we need to track this? Is this tracked similar to, is it using UTM parameters like a Google ad would, or is it using a cookie? How does this actually track, or a pixel rather? How does this track through?
Yeah, definitely. So a couple different ways here. So yeah, we do have a mountain like specific tracking and conversion pixel that we ask our customers to place on their website, merely to track activity on the site and the visits that we're actually driving from those TV impressions served, and then the subsequent conversions to follow. And I know that with some B2B brands, you don't always have, that traditional or standard order ID or value to map for conversions themselves, but we're able to map unique identifiers or values found on your site that indicate that particular conversion on your end. So you can still track those within our platform and cross-reference that within your internal system. And then, that's just for like initial tracking. And then once campaigns go live, like I mentioned, we have a Google Analytics integration, cross-device integration. So you'll just place those UTM parameters directly within our platform on those campaigns, and we'll be able to pass all of that visit and activity data into Google Analytics.
So and that integration is built in as part and parcel to the system?
It is, yes.
Okay. So really this is no different than setting up a Google ad or Facebook ad, right? We're tagging with the parameters we want, and we'll be able to report on those through analytics or through whatever dashboard we're using at the time, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Great. You talked about third-party audience data through the platform. Is that something that is accessible to us to use? And are there additional fees for that, or how do we use that sort of third-party data?
Yeah, so no additional fees to leverage our Oracle audiences or from uploading your CRM list. You're merely just kind of setting up your campaign, choosing your objective, selecting your audience, and putting in that goal and budget, and you have access to everything within the platform that way. But there's no, hidden fees or additional costs to leverage anything else in the platform.
Cool. So how long does the process take from the time we say like, hey, I want to do this and I want to run these ads, assuming we come to you with an ad built or a video pre-built, how long does it take to sort of populate and to start being distributed?
Yeah, I mean, we can have customers that can go live within 24 hours if they have all assets. It's really dependent,
Yeah.
on what you have ready. Do you have your assets ready? How quickly can you place pixels on your website? But ultimately, the process can be really quick as long as it can be quick on our customer side as well. So they can go live as fast as they want.
And can you control the specific places where you broadcast? Like say, I only want this type of show or this specific show, or is it just sort of whatever's out there at the time is what you have access to in the inventory?
Yeah, so we actually don't really recommend that approach because we don't know where our users are actually, watching their programming. So that's why we always push for that audience first approach versus like eliminating any networks off the bat. So, it's important that we reach as many users as possible. We don't know everyone in those households, so we don't want to start limiting ourselves. Like I mentioned, like my dad watches CTV, like, no one would probably know that, but he does. And you don't want to miss an opportunity to reach that user that's watching that programming by making an assumption that they're not going to be watching that. So yeah.
So that's why. So the audience first approach is uploading an existing audience list that you have, right? I mean, that's where the power of this comes from. Gotcha.
And within our reporting, you're also able to see TV networks that we're serving on, and even just those additional publishers as well. So you have full transparency into where your ads are actually being served.
I'm guessing that your dad's not a gardener then, right?
No, which is the funny part. He really likes home improvement stuff, so that makes sense. Him and my mom are always doing something new at the house, and it's like an empty nest thing happening.
All right. Okay, folks, if you have any other questions for Rachel, post them here in the Q&A. We've got a couple minutes left. Otherwise, you can reach her at the post-session huddle, post-presentation huddle. Sorry, I mispronounced that. All right. Well, Rach, I think that is through all of our questions. Let me just check to make sure we got through everything. Yeah. Okay. Anything you want to say before we sign off here?
No, thanks for having me. It was really great to be here, and hopefully I get to chat with you all in just a couple minutes in the huddle.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much. Don't forget, folks, the post-presentation huddle will go on immediately after this, and Rachel will be there for about 10 minutes or so, answering any questions that you might have on CTV or gardening or her parents or whatever you want to talk about. So, she will be there. All right. Again, we would like to say thanks to our gold sponsor, Mountain, for sponsoring this event and for this session right here. We could not do this without our sponsors. Again, you can continue that chat in the post-presentation huddle. Now, before you leave here, I don't get to do it. Before you leave here, there will be an online survey that pops up. It's 6 questions. It will take you 30 seconds. Please do us a favor, fill that out. Let us know what you thought of today's session. We would love to have your feedback. And then we will see you shortly. It looks like we have about 15 minutes until the next sessions are set to begin. So thanks, everyone. And again, thanks, Rachel.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.